Hey, y'all, listen, welcome in the building. Happy Tuesday, y'all. Happy Tuesday. Let me get myself a little situated and settled here. But happy Tuesday. We're on the 6th day in the new year. I hope that the new year has been doing you good thus far. I've been doing well in this new year. I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time. All is well. But listen, guys, we got a good lineup for tonight. We got stuff to talk about. It's called Taxpayer Scandals. Taxpayer Scandals. So there's this judge. Her name is Tracy Flood. Okay, just in case you wondering, so you won't get confused, it's a black judge, a black female judge. Well, not too far into her judge appointment, she was terrorizing the staff, according to the staff, making them feel bad. They was feeling like they was being bullied. Some people ended up feeling so bad like they wanted to take their own life. That's how crazy they said it got. So she got suspended for 30 days, and then she claimed reverse racism. So they said that's a job where you get appointed, and they're giving her opportunity to get her job back. And the people are not too happy. We're going to talk about it. Then I keep trying to ask y'all to explain to me this obsession with having relations with other people. And I'm keeping it cool because I'm early in my minutes on YouTube, and you know YouTube gets so sensitive, but y'all know what I'm trying to say. When two people get together and they do what they do, I don't know why people are so obsessed with it, to the point where you will risk your job just to have a rendezvous with somebody. It just don't make sense to me. So this bus driver dating the inspector, and so sometimes they would do what they do on the bus, feeling and groping each other up. Sometimes she would lie and say the bus was out of commission, and now we got the poor people waiting on the bus so they could get to work, get home, pick up their kid or whatever. But her bus is out of commission, which backs everything up. And it really wasn't out of commission, but she wanted to go have a rendezvous with her man. One time she straight up, they said, left the bus running. That must have been some good stuff. Left the bus running while she took her man so they could go have lunch together. And she was going about an hour and change. Somebody got to talk to me and make it make sense. Maybe when the panel comes up, they can help me understand, because I simply don't get it. And then the last story, we got the community criminal. She's here with the taxpayer dollars, getting all kinds of funds and benefits to keep the community safe. And in the meantime, her husband and her son allegedly is spreading the fentanyl all around the neighborhood. They got a whole ring. How you up on the news and up in people's face talking about you saving the kids, and you, your husband, and your son is out here putting poison in the streets? I don't understand people. And I promise you this, I don't care if I was 10 years deep, 20 years deep, 15 years deep, or 15 days deep. When I turn over and you telling me you out in the street selling the poison, you got to go. And if you don't want to leave, then I'm leaving, because I ain't doing that right there. I promise you, I will work at Target, leave Target, go to Starbucks, leave Starbucks, and go to Walmart. I will work 17 jobs before I be in these streets robbing, stealing, cheating, and busting people upside the head or putting poison in my own neighborhood. I'm not going to do it. What made you in your mind say this is okay? Your husband and your son out in the streets putting poison in the neighborhood, and you on the TV talking about you saving the neighborhood. Make it make sense. But listen, people, my monologue ain't gonna be long tonight. Y'all know what I needed to chat. I need a what? I need a choo choo. All aboard, everybody. It is Tuesday night trending topics, and we got stuff to talk about. The title's called Taxpayer Scandals Exposed. We got this Judge Tracy Flood. They said she was a whole menace to society up in that a judge stand. We got the bus driver, and I spelled it wrong. Oh, shoot, I got to add my D on there. The bus driver hookup, and we got the community criminal. Let me bring the people on in the building. Hey, Wayne.
Hey, Diva.
Hey, in my opinion. Hey, 48.
Hey, Diva. Choo-choo.
Hey, Diva.
Hey, that's a cute picture. Hey, Katrina. I don't know which one Katrina won up here. Uh-oh, there we go. Hey, Katrina.
Hey, Diva. Hey, Pamela. Hey, Chat. Choo, choo, choo.
All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and get right into this story. Let's do this judge first, because she crazy. I don't understand it. But let's talk about it. So a Seattle judge, is it Sharon in? Seattle judge suspended over bullying that almost drove staffer to self-harm is allowed job back after claiming it was racist to criticize her. So a judge was suspended for bullying her staff so badly. Why the thing acting up? Hold on, let's wait for it to recover. There we go. Okay. So a judge was suspended for bullying her staff so badly that they were driven to thoughts of self-harm and increased anxiety. But she will be allowed to run again after claiming it was racist to criticize her behavior. Judge Tracy Flood was removed from office last January after the Commission of Judicial Conduct found evidence that she failed to treat court staff and attorneys with patience, dignity, and respect. Almost a year after the decision, the Washington State Supreme Court unanimously rejected the suspension, allowing her to pursue a judicial position after 30 days. Flood was first put on notice in 2022, just a year after she was elected to serve the bench of Bremerton Municipal Court. She served as the court's sole judge, succeeding Judge James Doctor, who retired after 24 years in the role. Soon after she took the bench in January, relationships between Judge Flood and staff and attorneys at the court grew strained, the Washington Supreme Court wrote in their recent decision. The Commission on Judicial Conduct cited several employee testimonies from their investigation last year, stating that multiple court staff will reduce anxiety, tears, panic attacks, and other manifestations of stress and trauma. Serena, a former legal technician, stated in her testimony to the CJC that she experienced humiliation and stress at the hands of Flood to the point that she considered self-harm and left the court to preserve her well-being. That's the judge right there that they claim is wreaking havoc. That's another picture of her there too. She resigned from her position in May 2023, writing in her resignation letter that she experienced a series of events that made her position unattainable. Despite my best efforts, I have been consistently subjected to unlawful and unwarranted treatment by Tracy Flood that has made it impossible for me to continue working in my current role, she added. She added that she felt the need to resign for her safety and accused Flood of inflicting psychological warfare. Another staffer, a probation officer named Ian Cohen, testified that Flood's statement was demeaning, belittling, treating me as though I was a child, treating me as though I had no clue as to what I was doing after doing the job for 22 years. Cohen testified to the CJC that he lost sleep and experienced depression and anxiety, adding that he mourned having to give up a job that he loved and worked for more than 2 decades. His testimony recalled a tragic incident where his wife found him crying on the floor of their garage due to the alleged abuse he experienced at work. The CJC detailed 7 staffers hired by Flood's predecessor who left their positions in 2022 or 2023 after she started her tenure at the courthouse. The commission also found that 12 additional employees hired by Flood left shortly after they started in 2022 or 2023. Something got to be wrong with this lady, because this is crazy. I'll play her talking as soon as the commercial.
Past year, we engaged in policy insights for Resource Pro. That's been a game changer for us. I don't know any.
I'll play it as soon as it cues up. Flood's attorneys argued that the allegations against her were racially motivated. She was the first Black judge to hold the judicial office in that town. The Washington State Supreme Court acknowledged that pushback from staff could have been attributed to conscious or subconscious racism. Hold on, I want to let you hear her speak. Its decision read, Judge Flood was elected to lead a court that was described as having a predominantly white environment. Hold on, I think she's about to speak.
Reason for serving continues on from when I joined the Navy. It's a sense of serving the community in which you're in. Being a judge is one job that a lot of individuals do not understand. It is service. It's public service. It comes with great responsibility. It comes with great selflessness. And when I say that, I mean from the standpoint of you no longer are able to do things that everyday people do. So there's a lot of restrictions that come with that. But I believe to whom much is given, much is required. And as a child growing up in the city of Chicago, I was given a lot of opportunities and introduced to a lot of diversity that we don't see here in the great Northwest. No, so I felt it was my duty to be able to go and serve in a capacity where there's so many limitations set upon us as women of color, as Black people.
Okay. The Washington State Supreme Court acknowledged that pushback from staff could have been attributed to conscious or subconscious racism. Its decision read, Judge Flood was elected to lead a court that was described as having a predominantly white environment, where some staff were consciously or unconsciously resistant towards change in court administration and critical of her leadership as a Black woman. Therapeutic court coordinator famous Tara testified that he had never seen Flood treat any of his co-workers inappropriately. He added that other staffers' complaints with Flood were inconsistent with his, and he began eating lunch in his office due to the racial divisions in the office. During his testimony, he said he felt like he had to walk on eggshells due to impact of racism at the court. The CJC noted that witnesses who testified in support of Flood all had limited exposure to the judge and limited opportunity to observe the general operation of the court. Flood testified that the complaints against her were a result of institutional and overt racism against her as the first Black female judge in a predominantly white community, according to court documents. The CJC noted that 2 Black female court administrators attempted to help Flood address problems stemming from racism in her court, but didn't find evidence to support her claims. Institutional racism does not cause a judge to belittle, demean, and drive away 2 full set of court staff, notwithstanding the assistance of multiple highly qualified volunteers and multiple types of training and coaching, the CJC noted. The Washington Supreme Court rejected the CJC's recommendation and determined that censure and removal were not an appropriate sanction. The court decided to suspend Flood for another month without pay. She can return to a judicial position after completing an approved coaching program. However, Flood will not be returning to a position at the Birmingham Municipal Court. She didn't run for re-election last year and was replaced by Judge Tom Weaver. The Daily Mail has reached out to flood representation for a comment, but of course they did not hear back. It's a loaded situation. Wayne, your thoughts?
I think that's exactly what it was. Come on now. All these people, Caucasian people, and now you have a black person over you. You're not going to tell me y'all have some resentment? That's just resentment. It's nowhere in the world you're going to tell me they had all these issues going on in this court area or wherever they work at. All this, and you almost dying, and you all kind of crazy stuff, anxiety and stuff like that. All that's going on. You stayed. Obviously, if they could have got other jobs at other places. That's not the only places, but I'm not staying no place right there. If I've been belittled, all that, why would you stay under these conditions? If they that bad, why would you stay? So I'm on the judge's side, In fact, I think it was racism. That's it.
Thank you. In my opinion, your thoughts?
First of all, I don't think people leaving a job that they've been on for 22 years if something ain't going on. I ain't buying it. When she was talking, I saw the evil spirit in her. Some people are just evil. It doesn't have to do with race at all. It's just some people are evil. They feel like they done got to a status where they too holy to tell you, to feel like you got a nerve. And I really hate that we have to subject this to a race thing. It's not always a race thing. People like to throw that card out there first, but 9 times out of 10, it ain't a race thing. They said 22 people have left shortly after they was hired. Ain't that what you said, Diva? They packed up and left. This man said he was crying in his garage. He had been working there for 22 years. You ain't telling me a man gonna break down like that over a job that he really didn't want to leave because he had been there for 2 decades. And it wasn't something going on. It's something wrong with this lady. And she might need some help.
Thanks. In my opinion, Savannah, your thoughts?
Hey Diva, hey panel. Diva, I came in the middle of the story, so I don't want to not do it justice and comment incorrectly. So I'll pass on this one.
Sounds good. Thank you. Katrina, your thoughts?
Yes. My thing is, I'm with Wayne. When these people at the age that they are, and you got a black judge coming in over a predominant white city or whatever little community they got, yeah, they're gonna give her the business because they don't want to take direction from her. They don't want to take nothing from her. It's just like when we had Barack Obama as the president. They didn't want to take anything from him because he was black. Not seeing that he was also white, but they just saw that brown skin on it. I don't think that like I said, I don't know if the woman evil or not, but I don't think so. But what I'm saying is I think they trying to do this to her because of who she is, because she's black. And if you at home crying at a garage floor, then maybe it's time for you to retire. I'm not saying nobody should run somebody from their job, but see, this person been there for 22 years. So they're stuck in their ways and they don't want to change them ways because they've been there. But the thing of it is, you telling people you crying in the garage, you should have went to a therapist. I mean, like I said, I don't know this woman, I don't know the community, but my thing is that person is stuck in their ways because they've been on a job for so long and they don't want to change what this black woman's going to tell them to do. They don't want to be told by a black woman what to do. That's the reason why we ain't got a black woman president now, because they didn't want to be told by a black woman to tell them what to do. So I think that they just don't want her telling them what to do. They stuck in their ways. And then, I mean, I might be wrong, but that's how I see it. And that's all I got, Diva.
Thank you. 48, your thoughts?
Hey Diva, panel chat. Okay, Diva. For me, I feel a way that these grown people are crying and complaining about a job that they could just leave. He's crying at home in a garage. Like, what kind of weak ASS kind of lawyers and stuff is this? Like, if you're crying because I think that kind of profession is like they have to be stern. They, if you're like incompetent and they're giving you a task, you're dealing with like people lives here, their freedom and stuff. So like, even if she was reprimanding them and getting on them, we know some of them clears are there by nepotism. We know that. So she shouldn't have to lower her standards of what she feels is needed for her court. And if, like Katrina said, if you crying, you need to take your cry baby ass on home. This ain't the game for you. It ain't the right arena, in my opinion.
Felicia, your thoughts?
Listen. First of all, good evening, everybody.
Okay.
Let me get some tissue so I can cry at home. Okay, I'll just cry at home. All right, because I got one of them kind of supervisors. Okay, and let me tell you something about these kind of supervisors. They're miserable. They're miserable, unattractive women nobody ever wanted. And sometimes they get these positions of authority and they just want to make people miserable. And she seems to have been quite successful. But what I didn't catch was, what did she do illegal? Did she do something illegal?
They didn't say. I think they just didn't like the way, they were spoken to and so forth and so on.
Okay, but they don't know. She didn't do anything illegal. So this is a little bit unusual. So it's not like she didn't pay people or approve their overtime. Right. It wasn't like she didn't let people take their time off and things like that. It was a professional, personal interaction thing that wasn't going well. So, yeah, I believe that she is who she is. She coming out of Chicago. 75% of Black folks out there is involved in gangs. So she knows something about gang behavior. Yeah. And I think she thought she was going to outlast them. Sometimes you need to know who you're going up against. Julius ain't up here tonight, but he likes to use that term, FAFO. You need to read the room. You need to know when you're going to have a victory and when you may not. And so she was the boss. She probably figured, they're not going to be able to do much to me. And they got together. They built alliances outside of her and put her in a situation where she may not have done anything illegal, but now they done finished up her career. Now, especially to my young sisters in those back rows, I said all last year, protect your resources. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. When you are getting that kind of an income, you might see it as a personality clash. You might see it as an authoritative thing. And some folks like me see it as an economic thing. You got to protect your bag. So one thing that Diva did read to us is that she's not coming back. So I don't know if that means she now gets a change in salary, which can be significant. So perhaps she should have moved a bit differently so that she wouldn't have had a loss of income while she was attempting to do her job. I wish her well in therapy. I wish her well in, I guess she'll have to go get some classes on how to interact with others, staff, visitors, things like that. And maybe she'll be able to turn it around so she doesn't have to carry this through the rest of her career. And for those who were impossible to work with her, so they'll get workers' comp, they'll get their disability, they'll get early retirement, and they'll keep it moving. That's how that'll go.
Already quit. Some of them had already quit. Yeah, thank you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and roll right into. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, finish. You want to say something? Okay, I'm gonna roll right into the next story. I don't understand these people with the sex. It's just it's mind-boggling to me. Let me share a screen. You're gonna lose your whole job. Okay, I'm just making sure I'm pulling up the right thing here.
A Detroit bus driver and her supervisor left a running city bus for a romantic rendezvous, leaving riders stuck and frustrated. This was just one of the issues uncovered in a new report from the Detroit Inspector General. The report says the two were caught being romantic during work hours multiple times, causing long delays. Noel Friel spoke with city leaders tonight. And Noel, this report claims management failed to investigate this properly.
Yeah, that's right, Kimberly. The Office of Inspector General found that supervisor and employee were having what it called romantic interactions both on the city bus and during working hours. But the even bigger problem, according to this report, is what happened after that relationship was discovered.
It started with an anonymous complaint back in June alleging that a senior transportation service inspector, Andre Reese, and bus driver Dana Ruff engaged in indecent activity on a city bus. An investigation by the Office of Inspector General uncovered video footage from May 6th showing the two fondling each other on a bus. It found Reese then reported an unsubstantiated mechanical issue with the bus, took the bus out of commission, and took Ruff to a fast food restaurant, disrupting service for 115 minutes. On May 20th, it says Reese and Ruff again met up multiple times during Ruff's route and at one point abandoned the bus while it was still running. That day, DDOT received a complaint via a customer assistance form about the abandoned bus, but Inspector General Kamal Marable says leadership didn't investigate it properly.
We found out that the supervisors who were responsible for dealing with this type of issue were very lenient in their response to it.
DDOT Superintendent Howard Bragg classified their actions as a Class 4 offense, which would normally be punishable by a 30-day suspension followed by termination. Instead, he gave them both 5-day suspensions. Marable says he never reviewed the video footage of the two inside the bus.
For some reason, this individual only chose to review the footage basically from outside of the bus, not the full interaction. So we found that very problematic.
The Office of the Inspector General is now recommending discipline for Bragg and the DDOT Assistant Director, additional consequences for Reese and Ruff, as well as policy reform and enhanced training for DDOT leadership.
The real victims in this were the citizens who were waiting on buses that did not come on time because you had individuals who did not take their job and their responsibility seriously.
And in a statement, Executive Director of Transit Robert Kramer said DDOT is already implementing some of those recommendations, saying in part, quote, "We will ensure that employee disciplinary actions align with the city's human resource standards and improve processes to prevent discipline not being applied appropriately in the future." DDOT will submit a response to the Office of Inspector General by January 23rd. Reporting live, Noel Friel, Local 4.
Okay, keep us posted, Noel. Thank you for your report this evening.
Let me share a screen. So DDOT leaders shielded romantic interaction that delayed buses, broke discipline rules. So senior Detroit Department of Transportation officials abused their authority by shielding employees who disrupted bus service by having a romantic interaction, abandoned a running city bus, and violated workplace rules. A Detroit Office of Inspector General investigation found. The findings are detailed in a final OIG report that describes employee misconduct and lapses in disciplinary accountability inside DDOT's operations division, including failures by top supervisors to properly investigate or discipline serious violations. The investigation began after an anonymous complaint alleged that Senior Transportation Service Inspector Andre Reese and bus driver Dana Ruff engaged in inappropriate, intimate behavior, falsely reported mechanical problems, and left a bus running and unattended, causing major service delays. Investigators substantiated the allegations, saying the romantic interaction resulted in a 115-minute disruption of services and a waste of city resources. On May 6, 2 weeks later, the pair met again repeatedly along Ruff's route and abandoned a running bus, prompting additional delays. Despite classifying the conduct as a Class 4 offense, which is the most serious category under DDOT's disciplinary system, Superintendent of Operations Howard Bragg III issued only a 5-day suspension. Under the department's 2008 employee handbook, the penalty for a Class 4 offense shall, in absence of substantial mitigating circumstances, be a 30-day suspension pending discharge, the report states. The OIG found no evidence that either employee requested a hearing or that any mitigating circumstances were formally considered as required by policy. The report further concluded that Bragg failed to conduct a proper investigation before its issuing discipline. Despite the availability of surveillance video that documented the misconduct, Superintendent Bragg did not seek out or request the video evidence from DDOT safety, the report states. Therefore, he failed to conduct a thorough and proper investigation of the complaint before issuing discipline. Assistant Director of Operations Andre was also cited for abusing his authority by allowing a lenient discipline to stand even after learning that additional video evidence substantiated the complaint. The OIG also found that Reese and Ruff failed to disclose their romantic relationship as required by a city executive order governing supervisor-subordinate relationships, and that DDOT and human resources officials failed to properly review or complete the required disclosure forms. Beyond that case, the report describes broader systematic problems inside DDOT, concluding that the disciplinary practices employed by DDOT's operational management team are not compliant or consistent with the disciplinary policies mandated by the 2008 DDOT Employee Handbook. The findings are especially troubling in a city like Detroit, where roughly 1/3 of residents do not have access to a car or rely heavily on DDOT buses to get to work, school, medical appointments, and childcare. Service disruptions of more than an hour can have a cascading consequences for riders who already face chronic delays. In response to the OIG's draft report, Bragg and Mallett argued that human resource officials advised that discharge was not warranted and that reissuing discipline will violate procedural fairness. The OIG rejected those claims, finding that required video evidence was available at the time and that the handbook mandatory penalties were ignored without justification. The OIG recommended additional discipline for Reese and Ruff, punishment for Bragg and Mallett, and the significant reforms to ensure further investigations are thorough, transparent, and consistent with written policy. DDOT should create a system of procedures to allow more oversight over the review and issuing a discipline to ensure the discipline is proportionate to the offense and that all policies are followed, the report concludes. Good googly mind. But see, this is exactly why they do not want supervisors managing people that they're in a relationship, dating, or no. In my opinion, your thoughts? You left the bus running.
Child, they left the bus running for almost 2 hours. Okay, they was getting it on. I don't know what is wrong with these people. You willing to lose your job, your whole income for running the hay, and in this case, a run on the bus. This is crazy. I keep saying I can't imagine how this is happening, but I can. We got crazy people like this, and these people are missing their bus because the bus ain't coming because they too busy upping. This is crazy.
Thank you. In my opinion, 48, your thoughts?
Oh, the name D Dot just sounds so much funnier now. I think that all those trips along the way is just a bit much. Like, I have a lot of questions. Are these people in relationships? Like, what was what was the fiend about? You know, because if y'all can just like wait till you get off work, y'all can just meet up, unless it's people that you got to report to after
That
you
part.
get off work. You know what
That
I'm saying? So I'm interested in wondering, what happens to him. And I think Andre, the supervisor, I think he was getting a kick out of watching it. That's why he ain't say nothing. How you gonna look at the videos on the outside, but they doing what they do on the inside of the bus too? Come on, he a freak too. So like he need to be investigated too, and whatever kind of punishment happens to him, it happens to him.
Thank you, 48. Felicia, your thoughts?
There is so much nasty in this story. Now, you showed the picture of that sister, and this is why very pretty women have to be very, very careful. You're going to work, you're driving a bus. That's not easy, driving a bus.
Facts.
And you've got a supervisor who's inviting you into immoral, illegal behavior. He's not willing to meet you after work, like 48 said, and let's go over, get a room somewhere, and treat each other with some kind of respect and dignity. Now, I'm going to jeopardize the job. I'm going to jeopardize your integrity, your dignity, and everything publicly. And you agreed to it 3-4 times a day. So the only conclusion I could come to was they're both doing crack. They're doing the cocaine. Yep. And she got to get a fix in, and he bring her the stuff. And after he bring her the stuff, she's got to perform. The reason why I think the supervisor didn't really do what they're supposed to do, because she's performing for him too. She was the pass-around driver. She was the one that was just giving it up. What's that lieutenant over here at the NYPD? She just was giving it to everybody.
That nasty. Why his name won't come to my mind right now? No, you talking about
Madry. Yeah, Madry. He was over there.
Madry.
Yeah. And so she's probably chuckling because my supervisor told me he was going to take me. What was it, to McDonald's? And we were going to abandon the bus while I went to go get a Happy Meal. This is what you call a cheap Happy Hope. This is just below anything that I could imagine, that I would get up and go to work and jeopardize my job and my livelihood for a Happy Meal, a little bit of crack, and bad sex. And meanwhile, the passengers are expected to come onto your dirty bus. Your dirty, stinking, contaminated bus, and try to hold themselves in some dignity, going to work, trying to get a decent seat, and you done just did whatever over there. I don't know why they're still employed. They all should be fired, all 4 of them, and they should never be able to work for the public again. And the fact that her face is up there, she needs to come out and explain her behavior. And she needs to give a lesson to those coming behind her of what not to do. Because she gained nothing from this. Nothing. Because it's always going to be the women who pay the bigger price. So always. So she's not going to gain anything. She lost the most. And the Detroit bus.
Go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm thinking about the Detroit, bus system, that they allow this kind of stuff to happen. There's not just their bus that stopped and pulled over and goes out of service. They're the ones that got reported. Remember, you read to us. An anonymous person called and gave the tip. So it wasn't like the supervisor's watching and he decided to, put in a complaint. It was someone who saw them. So she doesn't win. She's unemployed, and she's probably going to do a TikTok soon about how she's out of money, out of benefits, and she don't know what she's going to do. Because when you do these kinds of things, they treat you like you treated yourself. She'll never probably get a good paying job again. I'm done.
You triggered something in me. I got to go back. I clicked out of this story because I click out of it once I'm done. But I don't think that they showed his face, right? Did they? I don't think
No, they did not. They only showed that beautiful picture of her. They always protect the men. Reese and Ruff. But they put her face up there with her blue hair. Okay?
They sure did.
Everybody got blue hair. And she's a beautiful woman, but forget it now. It's done for her. It's done for her. And I know this. You have to have a special license to drive a bus. You got to go to the school. You got to go learn how to do all of that. It took all that time so she could do some dope and some blowjobs at work. Girl, no, no, sorry. This wasn't the way to go. I'm done.
Thank you. Savannah, your thoughts?
Wow, that was a lot. Last night we had Mr. 12 minutes. Tonight we have Mr. 115 minutes. And I struggle to understand why people, citizens, do not realize that they are being recorded 24/7 when you're out in public. And they knew that there was cameras on this bus, on buses. They absolutely know. As a supervisor and an operator, you know that there's cameras on this bus. You guys they didn't care. They did not care. They were more into their lust and their sinful. And I agree with 48. I immediately thought that he must be married, and to not give her the respect of waiting till they get off work, taking her somewhere, at least to a meal or something, giving her some type of dignity and respect. He has to be married for them to be doing this on their job site. So the 5-day suspension, I don't agree with it, because citizens were inconvenienced because they couldn't control their hormones. So I struggle to understand, are they the only ones? Is this is this a whole freak fest in there? Or because 5-day suspension, you done took a bus out of commission that didn't need to be in the shop, so that you have an excuse now to have your side piece, your get with, your rub down, and you guys could do your thing. And I agree. I said the same thing as Felicia. Somebody saw this, probably another employee who probably had to pick up her shifts because she had to go do what she, special favors and hugs and stuff. So I just think that the punishment is unfair to both. Because I agree, his face was not shown, and this is just, it is so bad. It is absolutely, it's sad, it's stupid, and grown A folks don't realize that we're being surveillance and videotaped at all times. And now that video is going to be on YouTube forever, because once it's on the internet, it don't go away. So I hope there isn't a wife involved that now has to see this. And if there is, may she divorce him and get more than half.
Katrina, your thoughts?
Yeah, Diva. My thing is he a white man? Because I'm quite sure if he's black, his face would have been put up on that poster, on that thing, on the scene. I'm not for sure if he's a white man or not. Don't come from anything, chat. I'm just saying. And the thing, what is, she's thinking that because he's the supervisor, he probably telling you ain't gonna lose your job. I'm the supervisor. You think I'm gonna protect you? I ain't gonna let you lose your job. But to sit up there and have these folks on that bus for 2 hours, they probably had to go to the doctor. They probably tried to get to work. Probably trying to get home. But you out here rendezvousing with a lot of these people, right, with the man around the corner. And probably messing with the DOT man too. What was it, the manager, whoever was over. He probably was getting his feels too. Because he didn't seem to care. You just suspended him for 5 days. But you're not worried about what the customer's doing or how they getting there and how they getting back from work or how they late for work or anything like that. While these two out here being fancy free and happy. This is ridiculous. This is totally ridiculous. And they get suspended for 5 days. Like I said, either he's of the other persuasion or him and that guy is best friends, probably giving each other high fives. Because this just don't make no sense. 2 hours? 2 hours. This is crazy. But good luck to her, because girl, you just messed yourself up. That's all I got.
Wayne, your thoughts?
You know, I agree with Felicia. These people need to lose their job. They could be, that's criminal. You did personal stuff on your employer's time. You stole. It's no different you working at a store and walk out with property that don't belong to you. That's stealing. So they may hope they can't charge them criminally. But these people need to lose their job. Obviously, this is not the job for them. So I really do. I hope they lose their job. That's it.
Thank you. Julius, your thoughts?
I was always taught you don't squat where you work, and you don't slack where you work. Whew. Now, I was joking in the chat because just the subject matter of the story, but you don't wreck with your work because money is law, and these people deserve to lose their jobs because they could not wait, like Miss Felicia said, to clock out. And like Savannah said, get a meal or something, and then go to a hotel room, and then they could do the Humpty Hump and mind their business. But yeah,
Thank you, Julius. Yeah, crazy. But I'll stay connected to see what goes on with this story. So the last story I'm going to get into, again, this is about taxpayer scandals exposed, where she was a community service worker, the wife, but meantime, the husband and the son running a whole drug business on the side. Let me share a screen so we can get more into this story.
Case against a Kent family accused of trafficking fentanyl across Western Washington. Thanks for joining us here at 11. I'm Preston Phillips. The group is linked to a former nonprofit director who was given taxpayer money to prevent violence in Seattle. And said prosecutors say she and her family were distributing deadly fentanyl in huge quantities for years. Comes Jeremy Harris live tonight in Seattle with this Operation Crime and Justice update. Jeremy?
Yeah, Preston, this case first came to light about a year and a half ago when the Department of Justice dropped stunning allegations linking a well-known Seattle community activist to a fentanyl trafficking ring. Since that time, this case has mostly stayed out of the headlines, but we now know prosecutors have added more charges against more people as the first of now nearly 24 defendants has pleaded guilty.
My name is Marty Jackson. I'm the Southeast Network Executive Director at the Boys and Girls Clubs of King County.
Marty Jackson was trusted by Seattle leaders. She routinely appeared on TV as her organization, the Southeast Network, won lucrative contracts to provide violence interruption in Seattle schools.
Part of these connections help us to build a safety net that allow for kids not to fall through the cracks or to feel outcasted in their communities.
She also provided community safe spaces, one of which was the target of a mass shooting in 2023.
The overwhelming response we got from the community, especially from our young people, asking us and telling us you have to go back. You have to get back in space.
But federal charges allege she was laundering money on behalf of her son, Marquise Jackson, and her husband, Mandel, who prosecutors say were the leaders of a nationwide fentanyl trafficking ring. Now, investigators have charged 23 people as part of the conspiracy. And after a year and a half, the first defendant, Michael Young, has pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 7 years in prison. Documents from his sentencing gave more insight into the federal investigation, including that the Jackson drug trafficking organization would use couriers to drop off ghost bags at the airport and ship drugs in protein containers and transport drugs using hollowed out vehicle tires. Prosecutors have tied them to nearly 1 million individual pills, as well as kilos of fentanyl powder, cocaine, meth, guns, and cash. Prosecutors say the group unquestionably led to overdose and death. One of the new charges that was added here alleges there was prostitution involving Marquise Jackson, though the documents don't go too far into what's behind those allegations. Now, all the defendants, except for Young, have pleaded not guilty. Some of them are being held in custody at the Federal Detention Center in SeaTac, while some are on pretrial release. The sentencing range here, if convicted, especially for those ringleaders, could range from 10 years to up to life in prison. Reporting live in Seattle, Jeremy Harris, Como News.
All right.
Hold on, let me share screen again. So Seattle community safety activists given $193K of taxpayer cash is charged with helping gangster son run a fentanyl ring. A Seattle activist has been accused of helping her son run a criminal network that distributed fentanyl across the U.S. Marty Jackson, 50, is charged with using her nonprofit to launder money for a drug trafficking operation that was run by her son, 32-year-old Marcus Jackson, and her husband, Mandel Jackson, 51. The Jacksons were first indicted in 2024, along with 14 other defendants who were allegedly involved in a drug trafficking organization. In December, the Department of Justice expanded the case, adding 9 new defendants and additional charges related to prostitution. Marty is well known in Seattle as the former head of SE Network Safety Net, a nonprofit with the stated goal of providing violence intervention at the city's public schools in the South Seattle community. She was trusted by Seattle leaders and will regularly appear on TV, promoting her nonprofit and speaking about gun violence prevention. The nonprofit was granted lucrative contracts from the city and the county to accomplish its work. Community violence intervention is a strategy that tries to stop local conflicts from escalating and was backed by the Biden administration. In the summer of 2024, the SE Network Safety Net was granted nearly $193,000 by King County as part of the 100 Days of Peace initiative, a gun violence prevention strategy that was proposed by one of the county's council members and distributed a total of $1 million, $1 million. That's her. Now her and her husband are indicted. That's her husband. That's her son. Marty is accused of laundering money through structured deposits by using her own account as a pass-through between members of the drug trafficking organization. The investigation into Jackson family and their alleged criminal network began percolating in 2022 when the FBI and the DEA started looking into Marty's son, Marquise, who was accused of being the ringleader. Investigators tied to the trafficking ring to a series of fentanyl overdose deaths at the Lummi Nation Reservation in Whatcom County, which is located on the Washington coast about 100 miles north of Seattle. The 2024 indictment charged the defendants with moving fentanyl between Washington, Montana, Georgia, Missouri, Texas, and Arizona. A press release from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of Washington stated, over the course of the investigation, law enforcement seized more than 846,000 fentanyl pills, nearly 7 kilograms of fentanyl powder, 7 kilograms of cocaine, and 29 firearms. They also seized more than $116,000 in cash. In November, 44-year-old Michael Young Jr. became the first of all 24 people who were charged in the case to be sentenced to prison. He was given 7 years behind bars after pleading guilty. He's the only person to have done so. All the other defendants have pleaded not guilty. Investigators said that Young was a high-level member of the organization. Young's sentencing hearing, U.S. District Court Judge Jamal and Whitehead blasted the trafficking ring for the danger it posed. Every pill you move was a loaded pow. The sentence needs to hold you accountable for the lives you endangered, the judge said. Prosecutors have also said the group's activities unquestionably led to overdose and death. If the defendants are convicted, the sentencing range could be anywhere from 10 years in prison to life in prison. When a mother and a father lead their kids into criminal activity, what a shameful thing. In my opinion, your thoughts?
These parents are diabolical. To know that you got a nonprofit that's supposed to be helping with gun violence, and y'all not only putting more on the street. Oh, my bad. Pow violence, and not only are y'all putting more on the street, but you also putting out substances for the people to take that could take their life. It is not. I can't even imagine how many lives have been taken because of this family. A whole family of corrupt criminals parading around with a fake mask of, oh, we want to help the community, all while they destroying it. And not only their community, they going from state to state destroying other communities. This is a sad, sad, sad story. They should all be locked up under the jail cell. They shouldn't even get a chance to have a break because you didn't give these families a break. You didn't give them no justice, so you should never get none.
Thank you. In my opinion, 48 your thoughts?
Yeah, like I hate to hear stories like this about community people. It's like she risked everything, like for this. And like in my opinion, said the fact that she was like talking about gun violence and taking that stuff off the street, it also makes me think maybe that mass like shooting that happened up there, maybe it was something dealing with her trafficking family and not just something random. You know, those were a lot of bags of pills that they had up there. This not a little bit of money, that's a lot of money. I think they should get, if they find these people whatever they need, I think they should get like whatever the max is. Not too much. I don't think life per se, I don't think so. But I think like a good amount of time, especially for those young boys, or they not even young boys, those young men, they need a good amount of time. This like one of the most dangerous drugs out there. Like police and stuff, they could lose their life from just touching this stuff, being in contact with it. And you're like a lady in charge of having other people's kids and people they love around you, and it can be any kind of like paraphernalia that you don't know that might be around that has that substances. It's so dangerous. Like the judge said, it really irritates me when I hear that, maybe because of my background, but it really just grinds my gears when I hear people that take advantage of the community like that. I hope they get whatever they decide to give to them. I'm cool with it. I know it's going to be some time, so whatever they give them, I'm cool with it.
Yeah. Julius, your thoughts?
I hope they get got. We have a whole epidemic with fentanyl right now, and it's not to be played with. But they were distributing it as it was a business causing havoc in multiple states. So I hope they get got. I hope they deserve serious time, and I hope they realize they're responsible.
Thank you. Felicia, your thoughts?
This is another tragedy. This is just more of how we can destroy our own community. So you put up the big lie, the big front. We're here to help. We're here to be a light, a positive, a force of energy in the community. And really, what you're doing is undermining it. And your children, you did it to your own children. So now the son's got to go. When I was listening to the story, I just can remember the little baby up in the Bronx. Remember the little 2-year-old that died from the fentanyl.
Yes.
And the woman went to cover for her husband, remember? And didn't do anything to help the baby.
Nope.
So I don't have any grace for folks dealing for sure with that stuff. And so whatever the people, the jurors decide is best, I agree with. I'm done.
Thank you. Katrina, your thoughts?
Yes, Diva, this is sad on so many levels. This is what you call a two-headed snake. I'm your friend, I'm protecting the community on one face, but then I got another face that I'm gonna swallow you up on. This is ridiculous. I mean, this stuff is out of control. And we have lost so many young kids to this mess. And what icks me the worst is that we got 45 up there releasing these type of people and letting them back out on the street. You got the black woman. You got her over the pardon. She's the pardon. She's the czar of the pardon. The big time drug dealer. She's over the pardons. Then you just pardon another guy. And you talking about you trying to take this stuff off the street. How you trying to take the stuff off the street if you releasing the ones that caused it before they got locked up? He's full of crap. they need to get exactly what they deserve because you messing with people's lives. And no, don't nobody make people come buy it from you. You know, they're doing that on their own. But like I said back in the day, normally a D dealer wants his customers coming back. So they're not going to give them something that's going to take them out because that's how they lose money. But the thing of it is, it's sad. All that stuff need to be off the streets. And another thing, are these people Venezuelans or is they Americans? I mean, come on. Anyway, but yeah, they need to be locked up. But he probably the czar probably let them out because she's over it. She's over the partners. That's all I got.
Thank you, Wayne. Your thoughts?
You're not gonna only think about when you say the fentanyl was those a couple of cases that we did. The one Felicia just mentioned about, and the one in the nursery where the little child came in contact with some fentanyl in the nursery and lost their life. You know, to have that quantity of drugs, somebody else involved. I hope they don't just catch these surface people, but for them to get that quantity for that long and undetected, somebody else is involved. So I hope they don't just end it here. I hope they look for the head. And I hope these people get the max, whatever the law give them, because it really is unforgivable. I don't want to think about it too hard because you're going to start knowing how dangerous this drug is and how many lives that it's taken. Prince, one of them. To know that how dangerous this is, you know, and just to know how many lives that we don't know about have been taken. That's the scary part about it. That's it.
Yeah, it's very sad. It of course there's always a big supplier, right? But there they said the son was the leader of this ring, that he was running it, and now they're saying the son perhaps was also running a prostitution ring, right? So they may have been going to a direct supplier, but this family is going to go down as the ringleaders in this situation. So out of all the people they arrested so far, only one pled guilty. I guess he said he's not about to do this and risk going to jail for the rest of his life, and they gave him 7 years. But I'm wondering, with that 7 years, I'm wondering if he's going to have to turn state's evidence on the whole family and everybody else within that organization. This is scary to me to know that as a mom and a father, that y'all was cool with this, and she was cool with being in the people face and on the TV talking about she's here to help prevent crime. And meantime, they're running this big organization that's putting poison in the families and the lives of like their own community. And even if it wasn't just your own community, just in the community, period. I was shocked when I read it. I was shocked when I read this story. I still can't even believe it. I really just can't. It's just crazy to me. Go ahead, Katrina. What was you gonna say?
I was gonna ask you a question. How much weight was they moving? Like a dollar amount?
I don't really know, because they was doing it for years. And then they was doing it for years. And then on top of that, what was I gonna say? She was laundering the money through the nonprofit.
Okay. And so I'm quite sure they moved over millions, pretty close to it. If they got those a million pills, it's like over a million. So what I'm saying is, and I know it's 2 different states. Here she gets 7 years for unaliving people or people ODing, and Vera is still locked up 11 years for some chicken.
No,
I'm mad. I want Vera out.
He got 7 years for pleading guilty. They are facing life in prison.
He need to be facing it too. He a snitch. They gonna get him in the jail cell.
Listen,
He a snitch because you getting 7 years and the rest of them ain't pleaded. Okay, we'll see how this turn out. But that's all I got, Deep.
yeah. So just I gotta think of this other documentary that I happened to see on Prime one day last week. But I saw two documentaries. One documentary, it was about in the 70s, a drug dealer in Harlem, and how he is currently still at large. They're still looking for him because he kind of got away. But he was back then in the 70s was moving millions and millions of dollars, and he was the direct supplier. And they said he was bigger than the ones that, you know, they did the movies about, or whatever the case may be. And then I also watched, I just want to share some.
Frank Lucas.
He was bigger than Frank Lucas.
Oh wow.
He was bigger than Frank Lucas. So and then I watched this Miles in the Life, the story of a black mafia family drug trafficker. This guy actually went to jail, turned his life around. This is a good documentary, and it was about Javari. His name is Javari Hayes. He was the limo driver, but he actually went to college. And the reason why they recruited him is because he just had this clean cut look, and they was moving the drugs in the limo. And they knew that it was going to be rare that he might get pulled over because he just didn't seem like the gangster type. But he talked about how much they paid for the limo and how they gutted out the limo and how they was trafficking the substances in the wheels of the car, like inside the car with all of that different stuff. But this was an excellent documentary because he turned his life around. But not only did he turn his life around, he just talked about how, you know, in hindsight, it wasn't worth it. At least he learned a lesson, right? He said in hindsight, it wasn't worth it. But he said it did take him, he was very honest. He said it took him 3 years before, 3 years into his sentence, before he literally came out and said to himself that he wasn't going to come back out and do drugs anymore, because he literally kept telling himself when he get out, he was going to do the same thing. But in this documentary, he talked about how the projects are built similar to prisons. I just thought it was a great documentary. I had mentioned before that I saw it in a different live, and I told the people when I remember the name of it, I will talk about it and bring it up. And so that's why I'm bringing that up. But the other guy, like I said, I got to go back and find his name. But he is a drug trafficker that they said was bigger than Frank Lucas. And at first they charged him with one thing. And then, you know, when he found out that they was going to, perhaps they was charging him with more, and that he was going to get life in prison, they said he disappeared, and they never heard from him again. This to me, there's some things that kind of stick out in my mind. I think you're right. I'm 50 Gold, Kenneth Matthews. I think you're right. That sounded familiar to me. What sticks out in my mind is something Felicia said, where she said, like, when people are trying to engage you and drag you in immoral behavior, they don't like you, they don't love you, and you need to run. But just imagine when it's your own family engaging you in this immoral behavior. It's just crazy, and it's sick. Listen, guys, y'all know the routine. I will stay connected to this story with the bus driver, but again, interesting. They showed her face, but they didn't show his. Unbelievable. So, but this chick, to me, it's just a huge sign of disrespect if you are trying to take me away from my bread and butter to sex me down. Thank you. Y'all know the name. Yeah, his name was Frank Matthews. Was it Frank Matthews? Either way, I know it was right. Yeah, but they're still looking for him to this day. They said he disappeared off the face of the earth, and they never found him. But this man was, they said, making millions back in that time. Yes, it is. His name is Frank Matthews. Thank you. So that was the other documentary that I saw on Prime, and it was a very interesting and good documentary. So yeah, they said he was bigger than Frank Lucas. He was bigger than all of them. He made millions. He had this huge crew. And when they did finally catch him and they tried to, lock him up or whatever, they said they made a mistake and said that, they was going to charge him with some more charges that would have cost him life in prison. And he had family members when he first got caught that put up their houses and all of that to get him out of jail. They said mysteriously the money for his aunt that that put up her house, that she gave the bonds person, they said mysteriously the bonds person got their money, but they never heard from him again to this day. So I will stay connected to this bus driver story. I'll stay connected to see what this, family may end up getting, in terms of a sentence or whatever. In terms of the judge, she chose not to run again. So I don't know if she's going to move somewhere else, go somewhere else to do, to be a judge, or how that's going to pan out. But I'll try to stay connected to that story also. Listen, guys, I appreciate y'all. Y'all know the routine. If you ain't hit that like button on the way in, hit it on the way out. Good night and goodbye, everybody. Choo choo.
Choo choo.
Choo choo choo.